In the third Crusade campaign in Stronghold Crusader, both the original and the Definitive Edition, there is a Belvoir castle mission, which I'm not sure if it was historically accurate that the Crusaders were holding that castle or if it was before Salah ad-Din's siege. But Tyre and Konya and the city of Limassol, all of these events happened during the 2-year siege of Acre. Yet the latter city didn't appear in the game, instead we jumped to Jaffa. And I was revisiting these tutorial campaigns again after the release of Crusader DE, retraining myself and sharpening my skills to come to you with exciting new content. And I was planning for this video even before the reveal of Definitive Edition, as I have built the entire city of Acre in the original Crusader, but faced a challenging task to play a siege in the very small and restricted 400 by 400 maps of the original game. But when I saw the 800 maps in the reveal trailer, the old footage stayed on my drive until the full release of DE. That is why we have enjoyed videos from the first Stronghold DE in the past months. But today, we're finally going to exploit the 800 by 800 massive map. We'll go through the process of building the formidable city of Acre, which stood strongly in history under siege by the Crusaders and even repelled the cannons of Napoleon. We'll fully man its majestic defenses and defend it under a massive siege. But to clarify, this is not a simulation of a historical siege. It's a pure Stronghold Crusader gameplay with its special events that we'll witness in this video. So welcome to another battle in Strongfort. To be sure that I can build the city in accurate detail, well, as close as possible at least, I needed someone who was living in the time period of the Third Crusade. And that is Altair, or Al-Ta'ir ibn La Ahad, meaning the bird son of nobody. This is actually his name by Ubisoft. The game is set directly after the success of the Crusader siege of Acre, as we can see the ruins of the siege engines and the monuments of destruction on the city walls. Even the Arab corpses both outside and inside some alleys in the city, next to some destroyed houses.
We came in peace to the Holy Land to spread the message of our Lord, but they turned away. They refused to accept him as their savior. These men hold evil in their hearts.
Praise be Salah ad-Din! Be strong! Strong like Salah ad-Din!
I was remembering the streets of Acre that I've walked so many times while playing Hashashin's Creed, so I've decided to revisit the old city to simulate its details in my Stronghold building. The city was built on the western coast of the Sham, as I've started drawing the line of the Mediterranean Sea. Now, from Hashashin's Creed, I noticed that the city's terrain isn't at sea level, so I've built a height in the land before putting any stone, and while I was exploring Acre, I encountered some zealous Crusader soldiers who thought I'd forgotten how to fight. I started the city from the farthest point by building its citadel. This can be accurately simulated, as fortunately I have enough details of the inside buildings, which I will build later, and the walls and towers from Hashashin's Creed. I can build the main layer of the outer walls of the city and add the defensive towers later. After shaping the city's border, and while building this first wall, I've built the Hospitalier's Fortress, with the same interior that I have eliminated Ganyed and Aplus in it. After that, extending the city further and building the second outer layer of defense, reinforcing it with crenulations and building more towers. Here is the first lookout on our massive city of Acre. After we built the main defensive structure, now Acre's wall design was somewhat easy and straightforward, but the harder task was to build the interior, to design the streets between the houses and shops in the city, and to make this I've literally walked with Altair around the city, and for the first time I've climbed the high tower not to unlock missions on the game's map, but to really observe the land and the streets. Yes, I can't accurately simulate the city from Hashashin's Creed into Stronghold due to the different buildings and orientations, but still I can have a good simulation of the city's streets and the western wall on the sea, especially when Hashashin's Creed itself isn't historically accurate. But fortunately we can also simulate the ruined hovels, and that process itself took so much time to build the entire city. I was literally running both Stronghold Crusader and Hashashin's Creed and switching back and forth while building, but it was one one of the pleasurable experiences to build in the new Crusader Definitive Edition. The game's new high textures and animations made me feel like I'm playing an isometric version of Hashashin's Creed. I felt a real difference between it and the previous Stronghold DE. Here is what I mean. Welcome to Acre. The imposing, wealthy city was built correctly. A civilized medieval town. The streets are full of life. The Hospitalier's fortress, the market, the coastal wall, the mosques and guard towers. Even beautiful sites were designed carefully. The city's harbor, with the administrative fortress of the Lord and his personal guards. And this is the tower that is supposed to overlook the vast majority of the city. But how's the life of the people inside Acre?
The people love you, my lord.
I have established continuous trade deals in the essential goods and food.
Your popularity is rising.
And raised the taxes.
Our gold stocks grow steadily, sire.
With my very high population, they may be consuming a ton of food, meaning that the food supply will drain my treasury. But the high taxes from the large population are covering these expenses and even bringing a lot of profit. And with good ale coverage and many mosques, I can maintain the high popularity. But isn't ale forbidden in Islam? It is, but it's the only option in the game, so let us assume it's a tea shop. I miss Stronghold warlords. Of course, a wealthy and stable residential city like this must be heavily garrisoned, especially since we are in the middle of the Crusades. The city walls have different types of units, Arab bowmen and armored crossbowmen with Bedouin skirmishers and fire throwers. There are no ditches of pitch in the ground, but the double layer wall shall be enough for the defense, with Arab swordsmen patrolling every section on the walls and artillery on the high towers. The vast majority of my army is on the city's outer walls, with some guards on the citadel that lies safely behind multiple layers of defense, which has been kept empty due to the shortage of manpower. It will serve as a refuge in case of a breach in the outer wall. In total, we have 176 crossbowmen and 190 bowmen, around 130 infantry guards, with 74 fire throwers from the normal Arab and Bedouin troops, and 54 javelin throwers, all spread on the city walls, and 18 artillery pieces on the towers, 16 ballista and 2 stone throwing catapults. I didn't want to add more catapults because they mess with shooting when enemies get near the walls. All these preparations are because
scouts report a large force of Richard's men are marching towards us.
The Crusaders' arrival at the city's outskirts spread panic among the innocent people of Acre. Mothers rushed with their children to their houses, as the main Crusader army has arrived from the north of the city, while their allied Bedouin tribe has occupied the southwest. The northern forces began deploying their ranks. The numbers aren't so scary, but they seemed well organized, as they have marched to set camp directly facing Acre's northern walls. While the other army was also marching towards the city, Bedouin warriors climbing the Torah led by their Crusader masters with their siege equipment and the rear guard. Once they reached the city, they also blockaded its southern gate. Another division of the Crusader army was marching from the eastern road to Acre, and my garrison was ready and steady. The northern army deployed its ranks, seemingly preparing for a direct assault on the northern walls. Since the entire city is protected with 2 layers of curtain walls, the Crusaders have no chance on the ground but to attack with brutal force. And that is what the northern, eastern, and southern troops prepared for. Crusaders have launched an organized but not well coordinated assault on the north and the eastern walls, and we have directly opened artillery fire. My garrison preempted to start the battle before the Crusaders could take their attacking positions. However, the Crusaders' cavalry, maneuvering my rangers' fire, was distracting them from the attacking archers who were protected with their wooden shields. But nevertheless, we have thinned their ranks before the armored crossbowmen arrived. Meanwhile, the tribe in the south has launched its own seemingly planned attack.
We are under attack.
Once they entered our range of fire, we began exchanging javelins, with the laddermen rushing to the walls. And before the macemen even tried to climb, our fire throwers cooked them off. The same situation happened to the attackers in the north, but their siege towers dropped in the city's outer walls, so I've ordered an all-out retreat to the second layer of defense.
The enemy has a siege tower at our walls.
Meanwhile, the eastern forces, under their wooden covers, have cleared the entire middle section of the city wall, killing all garrison in the process. In the south, the enemy infantry advanced under their shields, with artillery bombarding the towers. The rest of the macemen failed miserably. Even if the enemy had catapults, they couldn't get rid of my fire throwers, who provided the ideal resistance against the armored demolishers. But nevertheless, they destroyed parts of the wall and breached the outer gatehouse. But this was a complete annihilation for the southern troops. The defeat in the south didn't affect the army in the north. The intruders were chasing my fleeing men, with the crossbowmen covering the advance of the Crusader army, as they had inflicted heavy blows on the garrison, destroying much of the artillery in the process. While I have survived troops from the south, I have ordered a retreat to quickly defend from the inner sections, as even the inner gatehouse fell, and the Crusaders now stormed the city. While my troops were rushing to take defensive position on the middle fortifications, bringing the battle into the city streets. But the danger was on, as the Crusader cavalry, with their line of infantry, was now marching unopposed toward the Citadel. We couldn't stop them with our arrows, especially when the vast majority of our army were busy fighting. The Crusader infantry, with their metal armor, were only hoping to be stopped by the crossbow bolts from on top of the Citadel's fortifications. Once they reached the gate, the flames started eating them with their armors, while even a group of them broke and escaped. In the middle of the city, my army stood firmly fighting enemies on both sides, and the Crusaders' heavy infantry marched into the Citadel, while their siege shields filled the city's streets, and the armored crossbowmen advanced to counter the garrison. An exchange of arrows and bolts was in that section between the city's bowmen and the Crusader longbowmen and crossbowmen. When I saw this strong line of Crusader infantry, I ordered all of the available Arab warriors to gather in front of the fortress's gate. They advanced against the Crusaders, who were heavily weakened by the continuous arrows and crossbow bolts shot on them. The entire Crusader force was destroyed, and now their crossbowmen and archers were nearly trapped. While inflicting some casualties in our ranks, their army was destroyed inside the city, so they retreated outside the walls with heavy losses. The city of Acre survived the Alliance's massive siege, with the fort remained intact. The well-organized assault from the Crusader army, along with the better exploitation of their Bedouin abilities, has breached the city's heavy fortifications, demolishing the outer and inner gates. But the strategic design of Acre's defenses gave my failed army a second chance to reorganize and resume their resistance, turning the tide on the invaders, who were strong in their advance into the city, but suffered heavy casualties that thinned their ranks, as the garrison on the Citadel absorbed the momentum of the latest attacking wave, resulting in the annihilation of the vast majority of the Crusader army and the survival of mostly half of the city garrison. That was the bloody story of Stronghold Crusader's Siege of Acre. Now it's time to read and discuss comments from the previous video. My biggest projects is on hold. Lonesome Alex says, "Is that really your PC? Well, here is my seat. And here it is. Do you ever clean it? The exact last month. But when you don't have a professional case that features dust filters, and while you're deeply focusing on works for days on end, until sometimes forget to eat properly, and when having a sudden disaster that threatens all of that work, you won't give so much attention to appearance. And why is there a syringe on the desk?" I like that a user said, "The fact you called that a syringe gave my brain an itch that I need to scratch." That is not any syringe. That is a thermal paste syringe. If you know anything about PC hardware, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And to satisfy your doubts, here it is. A thermal grease. I hope you've made sure that it's not any kind of poison. The mic looks more expensive than the whole PC. My man, I really hope this video is honest and not some elaborate scam attempt. If you look at SF920 at Amazon US, you'll find my very expensive $15 mic that I've invested in just to scam a company that has more knowledge in legal matters than most of us. And that leads me to clarify, I haven't asked for support. I said, I propose a one-time strategic sponsorship, and for someone who doesn't know the thermal paste while talking about cleaning PC parts, I don't think he'll know a hint in business. But for you guys who like the Stronghold content, be assured that it will not stop, God willing. Under any case, I am already working on making better and better videos, even if it's meant editing this entire video on the CPU. I was proposing a professional, mutually beneficial sponsorship that will only speed up the content production process. But I don't need support. I know I will celebrate successes here on this channel, God willing, whether someone supported me or accused me. I hope that helps satisfying your FBI doubts. Music Box 6 says, there might be doubts, but in the end, we all are gonna support you. Thank you, friend. When asked, like what, someone mentioned above that it's a bit unlikely that they would sponsor a small channel and that they might not even see the video. But like I said, there's always hope. I know that and it was considered, but Stronghold channel isn't only trading in reach. I offer high quality production and 100% Stronghold dedicated community. And as I said, supporting Stronghold would only cut time from the production process. But I was never close to giving up. In fact, publishing that video with both the positive and negative feedback really motivated me to put more energy into producing better videos. As I hope it was the case in today's video. As one great figure has said,
Your popularity is rising.
Keep up the good fight, man. Can't wait for the next one. I appreciate your comment and support by liking the video and subscribing to Stronghold channel, and I'll wait for your opinion on the siege of Acre. Rajang Sakti says, dude, I love your content. You're like the first person I've seen who actually plays Stronghold the way it's meant to be played. Just chill, castle building, sandbox vibes, no sweaty minimum or maximum crap. The game might not have tons of content, but damn, the castle building part is so good, especially the isometric one. Really hope the developers hear you. I appreciate your observation, as I appreciate the positivity with which most viewers received that last video, and hope to be able to make many more exciting videos in the near future and in the shortest time. Thank you guys for reaching this far. If you enjoyed this video, like it and join us in the ultimate Stronghold adventure by subscribing to Stronghold channel, and I'll meet you on the coming battlefield.